Welcome and thank you so much everyone for joining this evening. I'm Olivia Barnes, the Regional Head of Domestic and Onshore, and it's my pleasure to host the information session this evening. Thanks so much for joining. Tonight we have a team of experts online and ready to share lots of helpful information with you and get you started on your way to UTS through UTS College. Let's have a look at the agenda for this evening. Great. So firstly, we are going to discuss pathways, how they work, the benefits, and then, of course, the pathway options that we have here at UTS College. Then you'll meet some of our current students who are going to share their experience and run through the time that they've spent with us at UTS College. And then, of course, we'll run through the nuts and bolts of how to apply, and we'd love to have questions from you as well. So we'll open up the floor to questions. So please feel free to drop those into the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen throughout the session, and we'll get to those at the end of the session. So let's get started. I'd like to introduce you to some of our education team that are joining tonight. Firstly, I'd like to invite Janet Gibson and Vin Tran to turn on their cameras. Dr. Janet Gibson is the Program Manager for Communication here at UTS College. Janet has been in the role for 13 years and oversees the curriculum quality and works closely with the School of Communication at UTS to ensure that our diploma programs are strongly connected to the first year of the Bachelor of Communication. Hi, Janet.
Hi, Olivia. Thanks for that introduction. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this time tonight together with us.
Thanks, Janet. And Vin, welcome. Vin is our Program Manager for Business, and Vin has over 10 years of experience in tertiary education. Vin oversees the design and delivery of our Diploma of Business program, both here in Sydney and in our offshore centres. Hi, Vin.
Hi, Olivia. Thanks for having me.
So thanks both for joining us tonight. We're obviously going to have a chat about the UTS College options available to students. But firstly, I'd like to talk a little bit about pathways and the first year of higher education studies before we sort of get into what we offer. So Janet, perhaps I could start with you. Could you explain to those joining us tonight exactly what is a pathway?
Thank you, Olivia. I'd be very happy to do that. Well, a pathway, as the name implies, is a pathway between UTS College and UTS itself, and it indicates that there is a connection. UTS College is owned by UTS, and basically we help you develop the knowledge, experience, and skills to succeed at university, particularly at UTS, although other universities as well, because why UTS? Why particularly UTS? Well, because we work in close collaboration with UTS to ensure your studies prepare you for your next step to universities. So, and also because when you successfully complete your studies at UTS College, you'll receive a guaranteed entry to the corresponding UTS undergraduate degree. So you get credit points for your year, and I know in the communication diploma, which I look after, in certain majors, you step straight into second year. So basically you do the first year with us, but that's not the case with all the diplomas. And I'm sure Vin would probably want to talk a bit more about that in terms of business and maybe other diplomas.
Yeah, that would be great, Vin. Just, I guess, to give some examples to some of the students joining us this evening, how would this work if a student was wanting to, articulate across to a UTS Bachelor of Business?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the business program, basically, when students study our diploma of business at UTS College, they basically study this first year in the Bachelor of Business at UTS. So upon completion of our diploma at UTS College, they get straight into the second year and get all the knowledge, skills, and experience as much as students doing first year at UTS, so they have all the necessary knowledge to succeed from year 2 onwards. So it was, it's exactly like that for diploma. Everyone's get to second year.
Thanks, Ben. Janet, a question for you. How is a UTS College pathway course different to a course a student would be doing, for example, in their first year of university or first year at UTS?
Well, it is quite different, particularly, and I'll talk from the communication diploma angle. And I know when I did communication at UTS many years ago, you're not going to be in in lectures of 500 people, where the lecturer doesn't get to know who you are, and even in tutorials of up to 40 people where the lecturer would struggle, or the tutor would struggle to know your name. Basically, you'd be in classes in communication of up to 20, and I know with Live Online, which we'll talk about later, that online classes are going to all be capped at 20. And that's so for face-to-face in communication, and I think with the other diplomas as well, not I think. So what that means is that the teacher and the student have a relationship that develops where the teacher knows the student's name, knows their capabilities, knows how they work, what they prefer, what their learning styles are. So it becomes very much a student-centered learning environment. Whereas when you go straight into first year, you're going often from high school straight into a situation where you're expected to direct your own learning. Now, at UTS College, we do teach you those kind of what are called metacognitive skills to become an independent learner eventually, but you're not just thrown straight into the hot water. And some research that I was involved in years ago at UNSW showed that students in first year often don't make it because of this kind of being thrown in without these kind of other extra supporting mechanisms that we have at UTS College and that pathway courses pride themselves on. So yeah, we focus on developing those skills for independent learning so that by the time students get to UTS in the second year for many diplomas, they're ready and running and they do very well. Yeah, and they also often usually go over with a group of friends to second year that they can meet for coffee. So sometimes students who go straight into uni, you might go to UTS, someone else might go to UCID, Macquarie, whatever, and you lose your high school friends. But, this way you're kind of making friends that last into the second year and beyond when you move, which really helps. That sense of connectedness really helps students to stick at their studies.
Yeah, of course. Then can I get you to sort of have a chat or explain the importance of first year and why first year is so important and how a pathway, the value that pathways can bring to students in their first year of tertiary study?
Yes, certainly. Janet covers a bit of that earlier, but basically, first year is the transition time for students from high school to university, and that presents a lot of challenges for students. I remember when I was first going to uni first semester, I had no clue as to what's going on whatsoever. And I've been teaching at UTS College and UTS and talking to students at UTS. They really appreciate the help, the smaller class sizes, the smaller group of friends of network they make, and the support they get at UTS College. This really helped them. So first year is a time where we mentioned earlier that the dropouts occurs the most at universities when students go in first year. So hard, expectations are different. It's just quite hard. So a lot of dropouts occurs in the first year, and that's where we come in to help these students to get used to the way the university works and what the expectations are, and basically give them support to become independent learners for their success later on.
Thanks, Ven. Can I get you to just sort of chat through how we support and cultivate a positive first year experience at UTS College?
Yes, certainly. So when we look at all these activities, we don't just look at the studying part of the student experience, the holistic student journey. So we start from the moment students admit into our program. We have a orientation and welcome week where students get used to the expectations, get to meet the teachers, exploration before even classes start. And so when it comes to the classroom, we have support environment, a lot of teachers who know students by name, having smaller class sizes. We have success advisors to reach out to students, to have it go in personally, to make sure that they have all the opportunities to succeed. And we also have a lot of helps workshop individually for students one-on-one. We will soon launch a 24/7 service for our students to get help 24/7 on some basic foundational skills. So we have a lot of support for students. So we want to make sure that students are given every opportunity to succeed with their study.
Janet, Vin's talked a little bit, or you both talked about the support that we do give students, but inevitably some students may fall behind. How do we help identify students that are at risk of falling behind, and what sort of support is available to students that might be in that category?
Sure. Well, as Vin mentioned earlier, we have, there's the role that early assessment plays in identifying problems and at-risk students. we have a policy and procedure around having what are called low stakes early assessments, so that students are not going to, it's not worth 50%, so you've failed the course already. You know, it's worth a small amount, and you can sort of try it out, see how you're going, and from that we can diagnose, in a sense, what might be needed for that student. Because the classes are so small, the teachers really, teachers and subject coordinators keep an eye on students that are struggling, and will then put into place certain things that might help them. It might be extra counselling or support from the teacher in terms of study techniques or identifying issues and then telling the student how to follow up. It could also be many other things. It could be referring the student to a study success advisor. It could be referring to the student for counselling if the issue is that there are things happening at home or in relationships or whatever that are impeding the study. And there's also peer-to-peer learning experiences that we offer. So students helping students who've done very well in the subject coming in to help students. We offer exam preparation workshops. But I think it is also just that because we're small and because we care, the whole raft of people involved in a program have their eye on you, in a sense. Yeah, and really know your name, know who you are, and are keen to help you along.
And very focused on supporting students across to UTS.
Absolutely.
Just on the UTS relationship, you know, as UTS College, how do students benefit from the close collaboration? Perhaps then you could just sort of touch on in business, and then Janet, just as an example in communication as well.
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier, so diploma business is basically deliver the same learning outcomes at first year in the Bachelor of Business. So we design our courses in close collaboration with our UTS counterparts. So every time they make a change, we make sure we're aware of it. So we make sure students completing our diploma get the same knowledge, the same content, same skills with UTS students in the first year. We have the same standards at UTS to make sure the same learning outcomes. And we have the same curriculum with UTS basically. So our students really benefit from having those close collaboration we have with UTS. And also our students have access to UTS facilities. So they access the library, you know, physical, you know, when this COVID safety to come up, but also even remotely access to electronic databases at UTS. And also all the gyms and all the labs, etc. So when students enroll at UTS College, they essentially part of UTS community, and they get all the benefits with the UTS students as well.
Thanks, Ben.
Vin's covered it really well.
Okay, great.
That is that.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
No, so very similar for communication.
Very similar. One of the things that we do we listen to the student voice. We have regular evaluations, and one of the things that came out of that student voice was students telling us they'd like to actually go to lectures at UTS on top of the lectures that they were doing in the same subjects with us, and we've facilitated an assignment around that. So yeah, things like that. We really do value what students say and how they think they would like to learn, and we listen to that and we do what we can.
Great, thanks Janet. A question for you both. I think, well, I don't mind who answers first, but what will class look like for students in 2021? Perhaps I could start with you, Ben.
Yeah, sure. So UTS College, our intention is to bring back classes face-to-face as much as we can, where there's COVID safe plans in place, where circumstances allow us. So we try to target classes that will benefit from hands-on experience, like labs or studios. And so, but lectures, large classes, for practical reasons, will be delivered live online with our fantastic live online pedagogy. But class will be brought on campus where possible, and where we're really enhancing experience with those physical relationship with the campus and with the teachers and their peers as well.
Great. Janet, perhaps I could just, Vin's touched on the face-to-face, perhaps you could just summarise with just a bit of an overview of live online, and just explain to the audience how that works for students, or for larger classes that would be delivered through that platform.
Okay, so it's live online is very much about it's what's called synchronous learning, not asynchronous. So it happens at the same time. So you're actually live, but you're in a virtual space. Unlike perhaps fully online learning, where you might be doing at the time that suits you. So we do have particular classes at a certain time, which is really good, I think, for students in pathway programs, because part of learning to be a good learner is getting used to structure and learning how to structure your time and manage it and get used to certain regular timetables that universities would have. So basically, Live Online is basically interacting in real time with your teachers and fellow students, and you're working collaboratively and independently with virtual access to teachers and learning support always at hand. And so you're developing future-ready skills for a changing world of study work. with plenty of opportunities to engage in lively online social activities as well, and also some face-to-face we're working on. But I know in communication and across a lot of other programs, or all the other programs, we have a very strong focus on this is possibly the future of work. This is how communication professionals will be working. So it's really important to stress the kind of netiquette. How do you behave online? How do you work with your camera? What are your lights like? How do you treat other people? Turning the camera on or off. So they're all really important skills to learn in the online space, even though it can be frustrating sometimes for some students not to actually be face-to-face. But as Vin said, we're working on making sure that there's going to be some face-to-face, that students can get together in various ways during the semester. But most likely the live online will be the basis.
Great. So a blended approach for semester.
Yes,
semester
thank
one.
you. Well,
thank you so much. I could chat to you for the full hour, but we've got a couple of other things to run through this evening. So thank you so much for running through that information. I'll now hand over to both of you. I know we have a presentation to just sort of really unpack and explain what we offer in some of the programs. So I'll switch my camera off and the PowerPoint should come up. Yep, there we go. I'll see you soon.
Thank you. The diploma programs that we offer are here, and you can read them very easily. We offer 6 diplomas: the Diploma of Business, Communication, Design and Architecture, Engineering, IT and Science. So there's a really good raft of the UTS faculty programs that we offer at UTS College. Could we have the next slide? So the pathways that these diplomas provide can be also seen on this screen. So with business, which is an incredibly popular diploma, and Vin had mentioned this, you do basically the Bachelor of Business first year, because it's a kind of a core year across all the 8 majors that business offers. And you can also get into the Bachelor of Economics with that diploma. Diploma of Engineering allows you entry into 10 majors in the Bachelor of Engineering Honours and the Diploma of Engineering Practice. Communication, Bachelor of Communication will give you entry into the 6 majors there, which include, I'll just give you a few, digital and social media, journalism, filmmaking, which is called media arts production, creative writing, etc. Diploma of IT, Bachelor, gives you entry into the Bachelor of Science in IT in 5 majors, Bachelor of Science in Games Development, Computing Science Honours into 10 majors, and IT Practice Science. You've got the 9 majors, and the Diploma of Design and Architecture. With the Bachelor of Design, you've got 6 options, and the Bachelor of Design in Architecture and Landscape Architecture. Could I have the next slide, please? So the right diploma for you is an important thing to think about. So these are the modes of delivery that we offer the diplomas in. So you can do an accelerated diploma with us in all those various diplomas, business, comm, etc. So the accelerated is the 2 semesters or 8 months diploma. Once again, you're doing the same subjects at first year UTS with some caveats on that. It's the fastest way to get into a UTS degree, and the workload is more intense. So, and this will be explained at the end when Aileen comes on about the high school average that you need, HSC average, because we don't look at ATARs. That will be talked about later. Standard, so this is for people who feel like it's pretty full on in all the diplomas. You're supported, of course, but it is accelerated as it says. Then you've got the standard, which is standard as it implies. So that's the same subjects as first year UTS. Again, same content as accelerated, but it's stretched out over 3 semesters or 12 months. So you've got more time to work on certain skills, get better at your learning, cope with learning sometimes, because university learning, you know, can be a bit of a shock after high school. And then extended, the 4 semester 16 months one. Once again, Aline will talk about the particular HSC averages that are needed to get into these. You will go into either standard or accelerated, usually standard from this, but in the first semester you do enabling subjects, which will give you a great foundation to move into whatever diploma you're doing. And then depending upon your English, you will either do academic English or the academic communication subject, which is a great little subject because it focuses on those so-called soft skills that are so often ignored when people are looking at academic learning. But it's about speaking, creating a narrative when you're talking, so that you're not just talking about data, for example, but you're actually creating a story around data, and it gives people confidence in speaking and presenting and those kind of areas. So next slide, please. Okay, I think over to you, Vin.
Fantastic, thank you, Janet. This is my favorite slide because this, you know, succinctly summarizes everything that why students choose a UTS college pathway. So first and foremost, we provide guaranteed entry into UTS when you successfully complete our diploma. For the majority of our programs, you factor into second year UTS. If not, you get credit points or regular prior learning off, so that reduces the time left at your UTS bachelor degree. You get personalized support from our fantastic staff, including teachers, supervisors, simply because we operate at a smaller scale and we get to know students by name, and we support them each and every step of the way. All our programs are designed to deliver the same first year university outcomes at UTS. Students will be well equipped with knowledge, contents, and skills to succeed at UTS. And like I mentioned earlier, as a UTS college students, our students is a part of UTS community, even when they're still with us, and they can access all the world-class facilities that UTS has been building for the last few years, including the brand new UTS Central Library. So these are all the benefits our students will get when they study at UTS College. And I think that's reinforced in the next slide, where how close we are with UTS, you know, literally and figuratively. So from UTS College, you can walk to UTS Library, the main tower building. We have 2 campuses. So we have one in Blue Building and there's one up in Harris Street, 645, 609, but they're all within a 5-minute walk from each other. And of course, there's a unmistakable Chinatown there, so people can go and get some food and some leisure activities as well. So we're very close with UTS, and the most important thing is we want students to feel that they're part of UTS community when they're still with UTS College. So it's to make the transition to UTS much easier later on. I think I'll hand over to Aline at this point to talk about the student discussion. Thank you for your listening, and I wish you the best, and I'll come back to you with a Q&A session later on.
Likewise from me. Thanks, Vin. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Janet and Ben, for sharing such great information. It was a pleasure having you on the panel. We're now going to move on to our student panel. I'm sure everyone's keen to meet some of our past and current students that have studied at UTS College. And it's always a pleasure to hear from our students and learn from their experiences. Whitney Chan from the UTS College team is going to facilitate a discussion. Is Whitney? Yep. Hi, Whitney. How are you going?
Good, thanks.
Good. And can I also invite Megan, Brighton and Robert to turn on your cameras as well? I think everyone has their cameras turned on now. Yeah, I can see everyone. Thanks, Whitney. I'll hand over to you now to run through the panel.
Awesome. Thank you, Brighton, Megan and Robert. Thank you so much for being here, and awesome to share your experience with the audience. So first of all, I will introduce you. Could you all introduce yourselves? Robert, let's start with you.
Hi, I'm Robert. At UTS College, I studied the Diploma of Business, and currently I am in my final semester of a Bachelor of Business, majoring in Marketing and Management at UTS.
Amazing. Megan, what about you?
Hey everyone, so I studied a diploma in life science at UTS College, and now I am in my second year in Bachelor of Forensic Science, majoring in crime scene investigation.
Awesome. And Brighton, what are you studying at the moment? Oh, you're still muted.
Got it. Hey everyone, my name's Brighton. I'm doing the Diploma of Engineering. Oh, sorry, I was. And now I'm in my 4th year for Bachelor of Engineering, majoring in civil construction.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So everyone's journey to UTS College is very different, and we all have different reasons as to why you chose UTS College to go to. Robert, can you tell us in particular, like, what was it about UTS College that made you be like, yes, UTS College is for me?
Well, what made me realize that UTS College is for me is when I first heard about it. So I first heard about it at a UTS Open Day. One of my friends came up and told me about it. Before that, I wasn't actually planning on even going to university. So it was the way he described it and how you can get in, where it's not based on ATAR. It's based on what you do in the HSC, the marks that you get, and the average of it. That was the first time I actually realized, hey, university is an option that I can follow. And of course, going through university would provide me with better opportunities in life and overall a better life afterward. So when I chose UTS College, it was what seemed to be the best option for me. I did do a little bit of research, and it's everything that I found when I went to visit on info nights and that, it's no brainer for me to end up going to UTS College.
Awesome. So it was basically, something that was perfect for you. Megan, what made you choose UTS College?
Well, what made me choose it was that that it guarantees you like a path straight away to go into UTS, and you basically do the same things as you would as a first year in university, but you get more support, which I needed. So that made me choose UTS College.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely a huge factor into at least why people choose UTS College. So, the transition from high school to doing the diploma is very different, and everyone's experience is very different. Brighton, how did you find that transition? Because sometimes it can be a bit of a shock sometimes when you go from high school and you're in a completely different environment. What was that transition like for you, and how did you take that?
It was similar to starting in year 7. You're kind of very nervous. You didn't really know anyone. But since I didn't take a gap year or anything, I went straight into it. I was still on the same role as I was, doing studying and all that. I just had to go out of my way to make new friends that will last me for the rest of my uni year. Originally, UTS was my first preference for engineering because I knew they did a lot of practical work. Mm-hmm. But since I didn't get the ATAR I wanted, I looked around and there was the UTS in search, which was the previous name. And that was probably the best way to go at the time. And I knew it was a guaranteed entrance too. So I think looking back now, not too big of a difference compared to high school. I wouldn't be too nervous about it at all. But just be open with yourself and make a couple of friends along the way and you'll be sweet.
That's actually great. I actually like the fact that it wasn't too scary for you, especially coming from high school, which is something so rare when you go to higher education. Robert, what about you? How did you find that transition? Was it something similar to Brighton, where you weren't as nervous when you got there?
Yeah, I too wasn't as nervous. I did find the transition to be very smooth. One of the big things for that is the class sizes. It's a lot easier to go from a class of 30 in high school to a class of about, I think it's 40 to 60 is the most we do. And then you compare that to going into university where a class size can be like 40 to 50 students in just the tutorial plus hundreds in the lecture. It eases the transition, and also the help that you get from the teachers. The more focused they can be on your individual education, it makes the difference compared to going straight into a higher education course like UTS.
Yeah, 100%. Megan, Robert briefly spoke about smaller class sizes. How do you think that benefited you going into UTS?
With smaller class sizes, the teachers could really focus on you. So for myself, I didn't really study much of like science subjects in high school. So me going into a science diploma, I struggled a bit more, but with smaller classes, the teachers know like your progression. So they would really like come up and like help you to understand what you need to like know and build a better foundation for UTS.
Yeah, so student support is something that's really important to UTS College, and it's definitely something that a lot of students definitely bring up. Brighton, how do you feel that UTS College supported you in terms of smaller class sizes or even your teachers? How do you feel like how UTS College supported you during your studies?
UTS College was very personal, so the tutors would go around, ask if anyone needed any help. The classes were small. So my classes, I probably had a maximum of, I'd say, 15, 20 students at the most. And it was all in person at the time, so very easy to communicate with the teacher. They were all pretty nice as well, knew what they were doing. And a lot of them were ex-UTS college students as well. Lectures too, I think at the time mine were mandatory, but the lectures itself were more engaging than I would think they weren't, if you know what I mean. So I guess in terms of class sizes and catering to each student, they definitely do a really good job at it.
Awesome. And I know we just really focused on, smaller class sizes, but I had to ask as well, what would your advice be to potential students who want to come to UTS College? Robert, what would you say to those students?
Well, for those students, what I'll just echo the advice that I got when I started going to university. That was, if you want the ideal uni life, you got to go out there and find it. Like, there's so many options that you can go down. You can join a lot of clubs. You can go partying each day if you are inclined to do so. You can study really hard. There's so much that you can do. You can really make your journey in university however you like. You just have to apply yourself and look for what you want.
Great words, great advice. Megan, what would you say to potential students wanting to come to UTS College?
My advice would be like really take advantage of this teacher support. So like get a better understanding in your subjects, build a solid foundation. So when you get to uni, it'll be a lot easier for you.
Yeah, 100%. And Bryson, lucky last, what would you say to students wanting to come to UTS College?
I would say don't hesitate. If UTS was the place you wanted to go to, it's a guaranteed entrance most of the time. And like Robert said, do whatever you want. There's no one on your back to tell you what to do, like in high school. Do it at your own pace. Do whatever you feel is comfortable. But I'd say the most important thing is to either keep on top of your studies or make some friends that'll last you for the rest of your life.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for being here tonight and sharing your experience. Thank you, Robert, Megan, and Brighton.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone. That was really interesting to hear your different stories and advice that you have for students that are looking to embark on this journey themselves. Just a reminder to the audience, if you have any questions, just drop them into the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen, and we'll get to those at the end of the session. We've got plenty of time to run through the questions that you might have for any of our panelists or students. We also have some admissions staff and student centre staff online, as well as program managers. So we've got a lot of people available to answer questions, so feel free to drop them in. I'd now like to introduce you to Aline from our team, Aline Chiron. Is Aline there? Hi, Aline.
Hi, how are you?
And well, thank you. Aline is going to run through the nuts and bolts, the entry requirements, fees, intake dates. I can see a few questions coming through about some of these things. So hopefully this section will answer a lot of those questions for you. And again, any questions you have, just drop into the box. I'll hand over to you. Thanks, Aline.
Thanks, Olivia. So yes, as Olivia said, lots of you ask questions about how to apply, the entry requirements, and other things. So I will take you through that. And also I'll talk to you about the intake dates, as we have several. Sorry, semester 1 is approaching, but we have different options as well throughout the year. Semester 2 and 3 as well. So I'll tell you more, and I'll also tell you more about the fees. Next slide, please. Yes, so our entry requirements, unlike university, we do not look at the ATAR. So I know it's a big word. Everybody is, trying to get the best ATAR they can. but we look at the HSC subject results. So it's a bit different, not your ATAR, and we feel that it's actually a fair way of assessing your ability to start your university degree. It represents better the skills that you have. So how do we make the HSC average? So we look at your English mark, which is 2 units, plus your top 3 board developed courses, which is a total of 6 units. So we take those 4 subjects, we make the average, and based on this average, then we can determine whether you can join either our accelerated program or our standard program. We also have an extended one, and I will tell you more about the 3 diploma, their duration and what it is exactly. So we can move on to the next slide, please. So this is the entry requirements for each of the diploma that we offer. So the HSC average for accelerated diploma will be 75%. So accelerated is 8 months. Then it's 67% for the standard diploma. Standard is 12 months, so full year. And we also have a third option. If you're just below the 67% mark, then for 63% minimum, you can enter our extended diploma. Extended diploma is longer, it's 4 semesters and it's 16 months. You basically have more subjects to study than the standard or the accelerated. Hence why the entry requirement is a bit lower than the rest. So accelerated is 8 months, standard is 12 months, extended 16 months, and each one of them has a different entry requirement, which is right now on your screen. But again, if you have more questions about that, please pop a question into the Q&A. So let's have a look at the fees as well. So for this year, the accelerated and standard is $33,000. And the reason why this one is the same price compared to the extended one, which is $41,000, is because you will study the same amount of subjects in the accelerated and the standard diploma. The difference is that instead of studying 8 subjects in 12 months, you might have to study in eight months. So it's a bit, the workload is a bit, higher. So yeah, it's the same amount of subjects, but in a shorter duration. Extended, as I said, it's 16 months. You have 1 semester to study more than if you were doing accelerated or standard. So more subjects to study, which is why the price is a bit higher. Now, a good thing to remember if you are a domestic student, and by domestic we mean citizen as well. So if you are a citizen, you are eligible to get fee help. So it's a government loan scheme that you can get if you do go to UTS college. And also one thing to mention, which is I think important to remember, is that this year, well, since last year actually, because of COVID, there is usually a loan fee of 25% to pay, but this year, because of COVID and the situation that lots of people are in, the government has decided to remove this loan fee of 25%. So if you were to choose to study with us in semester 1, you wouldn't have to pay this 25% loan fee. So if you are a citizen, then you can get fee help. There is no 25% loan fee to pay, but so you have the option to pay with fee help, which is great. Next slide, please. Now, the intake, so as I said just earlier, the very next one is on the 1st of March, so very soon, in 2 to 3 weeks. The last day to accept, though, is on the 24th of February, which is on a Wednesday. We won't be able to take any more acceptance after that. The reason is because we need to organize enrollments and everything like that. We need to send you your orientation letter and all of those details. So we need to have you guys on board with us by the 24th of February. Otherwise, there is also another intake which will be on the 15th of June, our semester 2, and the very last one for this year will be the 27th of September, which will be our semester 3. So as you can see, it's pretty flexible. You have different entry points throughout the year and different sort of duration that you can do depending on your HSC results. We have an admission team that will be able to have a look at each of your circumstances and your case as well, so that we can have the best study plan. Next slide, please. Yeah, so how to apply, maybe this is something you are wondering as well. If you haven't applied yet, go into our website. There is an icon you can click on and it will take you through the steps, or you'll have a few documents to prepare just before that and I'll take you through as well. You can complete your application. Usually it takes around 10 minutes. You'll have lots of questions to answer, but it's pretty straightforward again. And then within days, you will hear from our admission team with an offer, hopefully. Yes, so what do you need to prepare before starting your application with us online? So all of your transcripts that you have on hand with you, so that you know, like you know your score, you can enter your score, any completion certificate if you have any, your visa if you're an international student. If you are a citizen, we will need your passport or birth certificate or Australian citizenship. Any other relevant documentation that you might have. We've had a question about being a mature age student. So if you have some experience that you want to share with us that might, you know, help your case, please put that through as well. And if you want to be using Fee Help, as I mentioned just earlier, you will need a TFN as well. So going to UTS College website, and there is an icon that you can click on to start your application. If you are an international student, I'm pretty sure we have some with us tonight, you can't apply directly. You will need to go through an education agent. If you have one, great. If you don't, please go into our website, and there is a list of all of the agents that we work with that are authorized by UTS College, and they are authorized to actually help you lodge an application, and they can help with many other things as well, with your visa, you know, with giving you advice about, you know, living in Australia, studying with an Australian university and things like that. So don't hesitate to have a look at the list, and they will be able to help you with your application. So remember, semester 1 is starting soon. And we had a question as well about that. So if you start in March with us this year, and you do the standard diploma, you can start at UTS the following year. So if you were doing business, communication, design, engineering, IT, and also science. Only for architecture students, you'll have to have a little gap because the only intake at UTS is in July. So you can either choose to start now, but then you'll have a little gap before entering UTS, or you can defer to semester 2 and start at UTS College in June. So again, different options, pretty flexible in terms of the duration and the study plan. Talk to our team, and we can help you with that. Next slide, please. Yeah, and I think that was it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Celine, for sharing all those helpful details. I'm sure our participants joining tonight have a few questions, so please continue to drop them into the Q&A. We'll start to get into those shortly. So please drop them in. I've got a few here that have come through already, and I noticed that some have also been answered via the chat. Binu is from our student centre. Binu, can I get you to switch your camera on? Hello. I've got some questions here about applications. So when do applications open and close?
Currently, our applications are open, and our classes start on 1st March. Orientation starts on 1st March. So yes, I would encourage all the students to be in their applications before 1st March. And 1st March, starting from that, is orientation and welcome week, and then the classes start from 8th March. So yes, we still have enough time, but yes, you need to apply as soon as possible, but there's no formal deadline to lodge an application.
Okay, thanks, Bino. I also have a question here about the cost of the bachelor's degree if students undertake a diploma. So if a student does a 12-month UTS College Diploma of Business and then they start their Bachelor of Business in year 2, does that mean that their bachelor's degree is reduced in cost because they've already completed the equivalent of 1 year?
Yes, definitely, because once they complete 1-year diploma with us, they will be getting 48 credit points towards their bachelor degree, which is equivalent to the first year of their bachelor degree. So when they go to UTS, you only have to complete the remaining 2 years of your bachelor degree, which is remaining 96 credit points. And yes, you will be paying only 2-year tuition fees through HEX if you're a domestic student.
Great. Thanks so much, Bino.
Thank you.
Then I've got a question here for you. If I could get you to turn your camera on. Maybe we've lost Vin for a moment. That's okay. Here we go. Hi, Vin. I've got some questions around classes and hours and attendance. So one of the questions I have here is how many times a week do we attend class on average, and how long are the classes? So perhaps you could chat a little bit about that.
Sure. So typically, there are two-hour classes per week for each and every subject. So it depends on how many subjects students are studying. So if they're studying the selective program, there'll be 4 subjects. So times 4 classes, there will be 16 classes per week. 16 hours. Sorry,
16
8
hours. 16 hours of classes.
Yeah. So about 16 hours of contact times. But apart from that, you can also learn independently with our materials on Canvas, doing group work, assessment. That will take another around 16 more hours of work. So you can say that's why Accelerated is an intense program. It's almost like a full-time job. For the standard version, it's a bit less intense. So there will be 6 classes of 12 hours of contact time per week, and then equivalent same amount of time for independent study as well.
Thanks, Ben. And where will classes be held? UTS College or at UTS?
When we can return to campus, it will be in UTS College campus, so our wonderful campus in Blue Building in Henry Street. And of course, students can get a chance to go to UTS facilities like the library, etc. as well. Yeah, but they will study classes on UTS College campus.
Great. Thanks so much, Ben. I think they're all the questions I have for you, but I may ask you to come back. Thanks. Janet, I've got a question here just around the various diplomas. Hello.
Hi.
So we have 3 different diplomas. How does a student know which diploma is the right diploma for them to choose?
I presume that is in regards to the mode?
Yes. So we have 3 different lengths of diplomas. So we have accelerated.
I call it mode.
Mode, yeah, 3 different modes.
Well, actually, and I'm sure Eileen did cover this a little bit. It actually, for students, it's a matter of it's not necessarily that you choose it with extended, standard, or accelerated. It's chosen for you if you're a domestic student, because it depends upon your average mark, and Aileen talked about the 75, 67, 63.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are options around that, and I did notice there was a question there about I think if I start now and I'm doing extended, I won't get until mid next year. And if students do really well in extended, I know and it varies from program to program, but it's a credit average with communication, then they can apply to get into the accelerated sort of version. So they're doing, they could finish in 1 year. So those options are around. But in terms of if you have the right qualifications to get into accelerated, I think you can tell from what Vin said that it's actually almost like a full-time job if you do accelerated.
Yeah.
We usually advise students to do standard.
Yeah.
Then you can, I know in communication, slightly different to the number of subjects that Vin said, and each diploma is different in terms of subjects and sometimes length of time. Vin was giving sort of the normalizing or averaging diplomas, which was really good. So, you do need that time, I think, to work around. You might want to have a part-time job, and but not to forget that there's work outside of the class as well, which Vin pointed out.
Sure.
We tend to advise standard if you can get into
standard. I have a question here around Bachelor of Communication. So I think someone's been listening and knows that you're the person to ask the communication question too. What majors are available for the Bachelor of Communication at UTS? At
UTS, over the time that I've been involved with UTS, as I've done postgrad there, they had different majors at the moment, and who knows, it might change, but at the moment they have 6 majors.
Right.
So you can do digital and social media as a major, you can do journalism as a major, you can do creative writing as a major, social and political sciences, public communication, which includes advertising and also PR. And I've missed one there. Come to me. I've said social and political sciences, haven't I?
Yes, That's okay. We can put the link in the question that was specifically about communication.
I
But
might
there's
have covered
6.
most of them actually, but there are
You may have
6.
done 6.
Yeah.
But no, that's great. So there's a good some good options to really specialize in particular areas of comms.
I think the important point to state is that because we're much smaller, we actually only do 2 majors in the Diploma of Communication at UTS College, and that's the Public Communication PR major and the Digital and Social Media major. But even if you do those, we've worked with UTS so that those majors can actually turn in that, you know, say you want to do media arts production, which I didn't mention, that was the one, which is like a filmmaking diploma degree. Then the majors that you have done in, say, digital and social, very useful thing anyway for a filmmaker, but they become electives because the way the UTS degree is designed is you do some core subjects, some electives, some cross-elective, and some majors. So it all works out, yeah.
Great, thanks so much, Janet. I think that's it for the time being. So I might invite Jasmine to join us. Jasmine is our program manager for engineering and IT. I can see her there. Hi, Jasmine. I have a question here from a student about practicals. So the question is, how will engineering students engage with practicals for semester 1 and I guess and beyond?
Sure, Olivia. When we were in fully lockdown, our remote classes were taught remotely. So those practical components in engineering has been replaced by different types of learning activities for the students. For example, some subject, the lab tutors will demonstrate step by step how to get things done and then get students to involve in answering questions. We also have replaced some of the activities, lab activities, with a series of video clips and also followed by students answering quizzes. And certain subject we also replaced by students following the lab manuals and carry out self-directed experiments, doing things that are achievable and video record what they are doing and submit to their tutors for feedback. So these are some of the activities where we actually replace the practical components. But in semester 1, we are hoping to get some of the practical sessions back with face-to-face.
Face-to-face. Thank you. Thanks, Jasmine. I have another question here. I think a lot of students who are looking to do engineering will be interested in this. What level of maths does a student need to be doing the engineering diploma?
Sure, that is a very common question.
Yes.
Yeah, so to enroll in the Diploma of Engineering, you have to have the year 12 physics and mathematics. And the mathematics could be mathematics extension 1 or mathematics extension 2 or even advanced mathematics with band 5 and above.
Okay. Thank you. And if any students have any sort of specific questions about entry requirements, we can respond with those as well. Thanks, Jasmine. I think that's it around engineering. Alex, I have a few questions here around architecture and design. Hi, Alex. Alex is our program manager for design and architecture. Alex, I have quite a specific question here around the software that students will be using. So around the design software, perhaps you could run through sort of some of the programs that we use at UTS College.
Yep. So in terms of software, our students primarily use software from the Adobe Creative Cloud suite. So programs such as Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, Lightroom, Acrobat even. Students also are required to use general software, so things like Microsoft Office, Word, Excel sometimes, PowerPoint, etc. In the architecture stream of our design diploma, students there use a lot of CAD software, so things like Rhinoceros, it's 3D drawing software. And all the software are plugged in and installed on our campus computer labs. so students can access all the software there.
Great, thanks. Alex, I have another question around the theory and practical content. So with the Diploma of Design, what is the sort of the percentage of theory versus practical? So how do we blend those two components in the program? And will the practical be on campus?
Yes, so in terms of the split between theory and practical, in both our design and architecture streams, we have three major components of class activity. The first one being the history and theory. The second component being the technical communication, or the technical aspects, such as how to make a model, how to draw a diagram. And we also have a third component, which is the design component, or the conceptualization, ideation component. And each component is roughly equal in size and focus. So if you split it in terms of practical versus non-practical, you're looking at maybe 2/3 practical.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've got another question that's just popped in here. What sort of device will students need? Can they have a laptop, or are they required to have an Apple Mac?
It's really down to student preference. The software we use are generally compatible and work just as well on Macs and Windows PCs. In architecture, I do know that most of our teachers prefer to instruct in Windows PCs, whereas in our design subjects, most of our teachers prefer to instruct with Macs. But either is fine.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Thanks, Alex. And I might get you to join if there's any more questions. I have a question now for Justin, who is our program manager for science. Hi, Justin. How are you?
Good, Olivia. How are you?
Good. I'm well, thank you. I have another question around the kind of level that students are required to have for our diploma program. So the question is, will the Diploma of Science, Physical Sciences, have the same content as HSC, Physics, Maths, Chemistry, or is it at a more advanced level?
It's actually a more advanced level, same level as the first year UTS engineering subjects. So the students will actually study 2 subjects of chemistry, 2 subjects of mathematics, including math modeling 1. And then there will be 3 physics subjects, which is more advanced than HSC physics. So it will include physical aspect of nature, physics in action, and introduction to materials. So these topics, these subjects will cover topics that may not be covered by the HSC physics. So I think that's the answer.
Yeah, thank you, Justin. Very specific. So I'm glad that you could answer it. Thank you. We've just got a few minutes left, and I have a few questions here just around entry requirements. Could I ask Sophia to just Sophia, could you turn your camera on? Hi, Sophia. How are you?
Thank you.
Sophia is from our admissions team, so we're happy to have her join in tonight. There's just a question here around the entry requirement. So the question is, what do you mean when you say that the entry requirement is an average HSC of 67%, for example? Does that mean I need an ATAR of 67? So perhaps you could just sort of quickly run through the entry requirements again for the students joining.
Yeah, sure. When we say the 67%, definitely not the ATAR, because as mentioned by our Elaine, we assess our students' academic result based on the HSC, the 3 non-VET, which is like the 3 top academic subjects within the category A, plus the English subjects. So as soon as the average of the 4 subjects reach the 63%, then we can offer the diploma extended, which is 4 semesters. And if it's for 67%, then we can offer diploma standard. If the student can reach 75%, then we can offer the diploma accelerated, which is 2 semesters.
Great, thanks, Sophia. We're just getting very close to the end of time, and I want to give everyone joining some links to find out further information. So thanks, Sophia, for joining. That concludes our session tonight. If you do have questions that you still have, Sophia and Binu will be online for the next hour and are happy to answer any questions through our TAP platform, which is a live chat function, and the team, I think, are going to drop that into the messaging at the bottom, so you can get access to that. Alternatively, if you prefer to talk to someone on the phone, you can request a call from one of our student advisors at a time that suits. We'll also share that link. You just put your details in, choose a time that you'd like someone to call you, and they'll give you a call and answer any questions you have. It doesn't matter if you are wanting to find out more about applying, or if you're sitting on an offer and you're seeking more information, or even if you're working through the acceptance process, they can help with any of those. We also have some upcoming events still coming up. If you feel like you'd like more information, we'll also share that link with you onto our webpage. We have some campus familiarisation tours that I'm afraid are fully booked this week, but we're looking at running some more of those. If any students would like to come and have a look around the campus and sort of have a chat face-to-face, we can facilitate that as well. So all the links I can see are posting in the Q&A, so please feel free to reach out to us if you have more questions or are seeking more support. We're really happy to help you. I hope you found this session informative and it has reassured you that there are options out there and that you can certainly still get into your desired course at UTS. So thanks so much for joining and have a good evening. Goodbye.